Welcome to Candid Conversation number 798. We're talking about this time, continuing what we did last time. We're going to talk about the differences between a boy and a girl. This is something that you should have known when you're very young, but now the school system, education system teaches people, be whatever you want to be. Just because you're born a boy doesn't mean you have to stay a boy. Just because you're born a girl doesn't mean you have to be a girl. And just because you decide when you were born a girl that you're now a boy, you can later on change and go back to a girl, or you can change and go back to a boy, whatever you want to do. Basically what they're doing is they're playing God. And so last time we talked about how God created men and women. They are, each have different roles. The man is to be Lord over the woman, and the woman makes up for it because she is the one who births kids, and she's the one responsible for raising up the kids. So if you don't have any women, you don't have any new people being born. And the woman over there in 1 Timothy 2, it says that she should be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith, holiness, and sobriety. So she is saved from the curse of the pain in childbirth and being underneath the husband. If she trains up the children in the way they should go, the way is the Lord Jesus Christ, and then they can continue in the faith. So then she is saved from being servant of her husband by her children then being raised up and then serving the Lord. And so it's not, one isn't better than the other. It's just God made different roles there. And so because our society thinks you can just change to be whatever you want, what I thought I'd do is record this video here and talk about the differences between a man and a woman and the importance of each of the things that God makes here. So let's start with the physical. Physically speaking, a woman has smoother skin than a man. A woman has she is weak in the upper body, but she has a stronger lower body, and that probably has to do with the biggest fundamental difference physically between the man and the woman is that the woman has a womb, and I believe that's where the woe comes from. The word man is not a gender-specific thing. When God made man, yes, he had a body like a physical man does, but within him, as we talked about last time, was both the male and the female. And so man is not the name for the male, but the man is a name for the humans that God made. You notice, so the word man is in there. If you're a male, you're called a man. If you're female, you're called woman. If both together are called human, we are called mankind. So it's all, man isn't a gender-specific thing. That's not referring to a male. Man is just a name for the creation of men and women, the whole thing. And the reason it's woe man is it's man with a womb. Woe man. So that's the biggest difference for a woman versus a man, physically speaking, is that the woman has a womb, meaning she is the one that a baby, when the male sperm gets with the woman, her egg, and they get together, then it creates a person, and that person is in the womb of the woman for approximately 9 months, assuming a normal childbirth, 9 months, and God is forming that person in her womb. And he's the book of Psalms says that I will praise thee, Lord, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And it says that God formed us in the womb. So it means that God is the one who creates us. And he creates us either as a man or a woman. And that has certain characteristics to it. So the woman has what's physically speaking, what makes a woman different from a man primarily is that she has a womb. She has the ability to have a kid. So it's real obvious, and then because you have to have the sperm from the man inserted into the egg of the woman, then the sex organs for the man and the woman are different. Because you've got one coming into the other, and then the woman is the one that the baby is formed in her belly. They're in the womb. So that's the primary difference, physically speaking, between a man and a woman. So if you want to know which one you are, all you have to do is check the equipment. If you've got a womb, well, then you're a woman. And if you have sex organs that would be able to create the sperm to impregnate the woman, well, then you are a man. If you don't have a womb and you've got sperm instead, well, then you are a man. So you just check to see which one you have, and that's who you are. It's pretty easy to tell the difference. And usually in society, again, our society has changed, so it's a little different now, but usually in societies, the women look a certain way and men look a certain way because the mind, and we'll get to that probably next candid conversation, the mind of a woman is different from the mind of a man. So then the man desires to look a certain way based on his mind, and the woman desires to look a certain way based on her mind. When Paul wrote to the Corinthians, he told them in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, I think it's chapter 11, that nature itself teaches you that long hair for a woman is glory for her, and long hair for a man is shameful. That's what nature teaches. So it is natural. If nature teaches you that, then it's natural for the man's mind to say that I should have short hair. And it's natural for the woman's mind to say that I should have long hair. Now, he says, if anyone seems to be contentious, we have no such custom. So it's not a sin for a man to have long hair or a woman to have short hair. But nature, just the way God made the woman's mind is made to say, I need to have long hair. And the man's mind is made to say, I need to have short hair. And in fact, if you don't, what's funny about it is that you look at today and people do whatever they want to do, so you can't really go by that. You know, when I was growing up, if I saw somebody with long hair, immediately it meant it was a woman. I mean, there were some that had long hair, but men had long hair, but I'd say 99% of the cases when you saw long hair, it was a woman. And if you saw short hair, 99% of the cases it was a man. But nowadays, you'll see more men with long hair and more women with short hair. They're going against nature. And it's not sinful because, I mean, you can do that. God didn't say you have to cut your hair if you're a man. In fact, Samson, God had his strength was in his hair. You know, he had long hair. The Nazirite vow says if a man wants to separate himself unto the Lord, then he's going to go against nature and have long hair. So it's not a sin for a man to have long hair or for a woman to have short hair. But what I find interesting is you can see that in nature, and I think because man doesn't always go by that, and so then God says, okay, well, I'll make sure that people understand that men by nature will have short hair and women by nature will have long hair, because I'll create male pattern baldness. And you notice that it's rare that women lose their hair, but it's pretty common for men as they're older to lose their hair. You don't see too many men that are, say, 70, 80 years old with a full head of hair. At least it's not natural for them to have it. They get a toupee. But, so it's interesting that God, even if the man says, well, I'm going to have long hair, And even if the woman says, well, I'm going to have short hair, God at least says, well, you know what, I'm going to take the hair away from the man. He's not going to have any hair. He's going to be bald. So there you go. So it's like God has given a signal to people to make it real easy. Because the first thing you look at, the main characteristic that differentiates you as a man from a different man, or you as a woman from a different woman, is your face. You know, if I know what your body looks like and I just had a picture of you, you know, beneath your head, and I knew what kind of clothes you wore, I could figure out who that is. But usually, you just take a picture of somebody and you don't have their head in there, you don't know who they are. Because the main characteristics that you find to recognize somebody is the head. So when you look at somebody, you're looking at the head first in order to say, oh, that's Eric, or that's Bob, or that's Josie, or, you know, whoever it is. And so what God does is he has that in nature so that you would naturally, if you're a man, have short hair, and if you're a woman, you naturally have long hair. And so that, because you're going to look at the head first, so then that way you can see which is which. So that's a big distinction. So the physical characteristics of a woman is she has smoother skin as well. It's a lot harder for a man to look like a woman, I think, than a woman to look like a man, because the woman has that smooth skin, and it's really hard to duplicate that look if you want to try to look like the opposite sex. So men do not have a womb. Woman has a womb. Woman has smooth skin. Men grow hair on their chin and their underneath their nose there, and then sideburns, and then on their neck. Women may have a few scraggly hairs, you know, as they get older, but usually, you know, woman can't just grow a beard, you know. So men have, while the men lose the hair on the top, they get it in other places. And it may come on the ears, it may come on the nose, but, you know, primarily you see it on the chin or underneath the nose, or on the sides of the face there. That's where you get more of the hair. So men grow hair. Men are more hairy like that. They have more hair on their legs, their chests, their back. Women do grow some hair on their legs and their arms, but not much, and they usually don't have any hair on their chest or back. So that physically different that way. God made the vocal cords of the woman to be shorter and than the man's, which means higher voice. You think of musical instruments. The bigger the instrument, the lower the sound from the instrument. Think of saxophones. The highest sounding saxophone is a soprano sax. And the most common saxophone is a tenor sax, which is sort of there in the middle. There are also bass saxes, but they're huge. You know, if you want to play an instrument, you want to play the tuba, you better be a big guy. Not too many women can play the tuba because it's such a big instrument, because it has low sounds out of it. So the bigger the instrument, the lower the sound. And so God makes the vocal cords of the woman to be shorter than the man's. That's why, like in Southern Gospel or barbershop quartets, you try to have a male quartet. It's not too hard to find a bass singer, but it's pretty hard to find a tenor singer, a high-sounding man. There are some men that sound just like women, in fact, may have higher voices than women singing. But for the most part, you can tell that the pitch of a woman's voice is higher. And even if you just happen to have a man who has a high voice, you can usually tell, just listening to the voice, that that's really a man's voice versus a woman's voice. You know, when I'm on the phone at work, I call up some company, pay a bill. You know, I don't know who I'm going to talk to, and sometimes they don't tell me who they are. I say hello or identify the name of the company, but I can tell by the voice instantly if it's a man or a woman I'm talking to. Some women have low voices. Beatrice Arthur had one. Some men have high voices, but yet you can still tell, Beatrice Arthur is still a woman. You can tell by the voice because the vocal cords are made a little differently. Women tend to be shorter than men. Again, it's just on average. God also made the women to live about 5 years longer than the men, because the woman's role, again, nothing wrong or about it, nothing doesn't mean she's a servant or that she's anything less than a man, I should say, but her role is the servant role of the man. And so that means that when they get older, it's the woman's responsibility to take care of her husband. Now, husband should take care of his wife as well, but primarily it's the woman who has the caregiving role. And so God made the woman to live about 5 years longer than the man. So then that way, she can take care of her husband after he retires, not physically able to do a job anymore. And then after he dies, then she's got another 5 years or so to live. And then she can be taken care of, usually by her daughter. If you've got kids, let's say you have 2 daughters and 2 sons, chances are, if you get to the point where you need somebody to physically take care of you, and you don't go to a nursing home or anything like that, you actually have family taking care of you, which would be God's design, it's going to be a daughter that takes care of you, not the son, because that's just how God made the woman's mind. And we'll get to the woman's mind probably next time. And so the woman is made to live about 5 years longer than the man. So then that way, as the last 5 years of the man's life, he's taken care of by his wife. Then the last 5 years of the wife's life, she's taken care of by her daughter. Usually is how it works. So physically speaking, you've got, in summary, basically, you've got the woman with a womb being able to be pregnant and have a body form inside of her. You've got the man being able to impregnate the woman. A woman cannot impregnate another woman or a man, and a man cannot give birth to a woman. There are women and men's roles in society as well, and for example, the woman is to be the child. Since she's a child bearer, she's also able to feed her child with her body. That's why her breasts are bigger than a man's breast, is that she has the mammary glands to be able to feed her baby milk through her own body. A man can't do that. And then also, physically speaking, a difference is that she has a menstrual cycle where she has an issue of blood basically for about a week every month. And what God is doing there is he's trying to show her that her role is to stay at home and take care of the house and the kids and raise up the kids. The way God made it is that a woman should not work outside the home. She should cook and take care of the house because she's better at that. We'll go back with her mind. Her mind is made to be better at that than a man. And we'll talk about the mind next time. And so she is made to stay at home and to give birth to the kids, feed the kids from her own body. And, all of this should be clues. The feminist movement and the women's rights have been, well, a woman can work outside the home. She's just as good as a man. You can't, she's got to be paid the same and all this. Well, it's not an issue if she's not as good as a man or as strong as a man or anything like that. It's just she has a different role. I mean, if God makes you to where you can give birth, have a baby forming in your womb and then give birth, and he makes it to where you can feed that baby from your own body, and then he makes it to where if you don't have all that going on, that you have an issue of blood, the menstrual cycle, 1 week out of every month. I mean, doesn't that tell you that her job is to stay at home, take care of the house, take care of the kids? I mean, that's the way God made it. I didn't make these rules. I didn't make the woman like that. I'm not making up my own rules because I'm a male chauvinist. I'm just telling you how God made the woman's body. And so the role then, and by the way, after the kid is grown, it doesn't mean, oh, you fend them off to some state-run school. I mean, the school system is just so anti-God, anti-Bible. The best thing you could possibly do is to raise your kids at home and raise them up in the nurture of the Lord. Now, I recognize in our society, maybe they don't even allow that anymore. Or maybe because of the way the economics is structured, you have to work outside of the home just to be able to afford everything. I understand that there are situations where maybe you don't go along with the way God made it, but the way God made it was that so that the woman would give birth, she would feed the child from her own body, and then she would stay at home and take care of the house and raise up the kid in the things of the Lord. Raise them and other things they need to know too. How to add and subtract, multiply and divide, how to write sentences, how to read, any basic skills like that. She was made to, raise up the kids in those things. And schools nowadays, they get a lot more technical than they need to be. And I think it's just so it takes the ability of the woman to raise her kid, to educate her kid away from them. Everybody's got to take chemistry or biology or a foreign language or some things. And well, the mother may not know those things, but really, you don't really need to know to function in life. You don't need to know all the chemistry things unless you're a chemist. You don't need to know a foreign language unless you're in an area where you've got people that are going to speak that language or you're going to go to other country. So a lot of the things in school that are taught as part of the education really isn't needed in life. And so really the woman's job isn't to be, it's like, well, I can't do that. I don't know chemistry. I don't know biology. Well, you don't need to know that stuff. You just train up the child in the things of the way of the Lord is the most important thing. And of course, you got to function in society, so you train up the child in math and English and reading and writing and, get all the bases covered. You could maybe send the child off to college to get some technical training or something to be able to get a job after that, but all the basics when they're children, you do that yourself as the mother. And so physically speaking, you can tell a woman is different from a man based on her smooth skin, her hair, her womb, her lower body strength being greater than her upper body strength. The hair doesn't grow on the chin or on the face like with the man. She's usually shorter. She usually lives a little longer. You can usually tell her hands and her feet. If you see hands or feet of somebody, usually you can tell if it's a man or a woman, not always. Usually the hands are a little smaller and the feet a little smaller for women, as they're also a little shorter. So there you go, differences between a man and a woman physically. Next time we'll go over how the mind is different. Thanks for watching.